Meghan Markle thought the cameras weren't watching. She thought she had a split second to drop the act, to let her real feelings show, to reveal what's actually happening behind those carefully rehearsed smiles and perfectly timed photo opportunities. But here's the thing about red carpet events: the cameras never stop rolling. And what they caught at this gala? Absolutely chilling. So Meghan's walking into the venue, and for once she's actually wearing what looks like a genuine smile. Not the forced tooth-bearing grin we've seen 1,000 times. Not the calculated angle-perfect pose she's perfected over years of working the camera. This was different. This was relaxed, natural even. She's glancing at Harry, trying to connect with him, trying to create that picture-perfect couple moment the world expects from them. But Harry? He's not playing along. Not even close. He gives her the briefest acknowledgement, tells her to go ahead, and then he stays behind. Just for a second, just long enough for Meghan to walk a few steps before she realizes her husband isn't right beside her. And that's when it happens. That's when the mask doesn't just slip, it completely shatters. Meghan turns around and her face transforms into something truly horrifying. The smile vanishes, gone, replaced by this look of pure rage mixed with panic mixed with something darker. Her expression screams, "Why aren't you following me? Why aren't you right next to me? What are you doing?" It's the kind of look that makes you uncomfortable just watching it through a screen. The kind of look that tells you everything about what's really happening in that relationship when the doors close and the public can't see. But then she remembers, oh, the cameras, they're still there, they're still filming. And just like that, she forces her face to relax, plasters on that smile again, tries to recover. Hello cameras. Hello, I forgot you were there. I was just looking at my husband for a second. The damage is done though. The internet has the receipts, the footage is everywhere, and body language experts are having an absolute field day breaking down every microsecond of that transformation. This wasn't a bad angle or unfortunate lighting or a moment taken out of context. This was Meghan Markle forgetting for one crucial second that the world was watching. This was the real dynamic between her and Harry caught on film. And trust me, this was only the beginning of the disasters that unfolded at this event. Because what happened on that stage, during those speeches, during those interactions with other guests, it gets so much worse. If you want to know the real state of Harry and Meghan's marriage, forget the carefully curated Instagram posts. Forget the staged hand-holding photos their team releases to the press. Just watch how they interact when they think nobody's paying close attention. And at this gala, Harry made it crystal clear he's absolutely done pretending. The entire walk up to the venue was a masterclass in avoidance. Meghan kept looking at Harry, over and over again, smiling at him, trying to catch his eye, desperate for some kind of acknowledgement that they're supposed to be this united front, this power couple, this love story that defied the royal family. And Harry? He didn't look back. Not once. He kept that infamous 1,000-yard stare locked straight ahead, jaw tight, shoulders tense, completely refusing to engage with his wife standing right next to him. Now here's what makes this even more devastating. When someone's looking at you that intensely, that repeatedly, you feel it, you know they're there. Harry absolutely knew Meghan was trying to connect with him. He could see her in his peripheral vision, he could sense her gaze, and he chose nothing. He chose to give her absolutely nothing in return. That's not accidental. That's not just being distracted or focused on where he's walking. That's a deliberate choice to withhold affection, to deny connection, to send a message without saying a single word. Body language analysts who've studied the footage are calling it brutal. One expert pointed out that in healthy relationships, partners naturally mirror each other's energy, return glances, create small moments of connection even in public settings. But Harry's giving off every signal of a man who's emotionally checked out. The posture, the expression, the complete lack of reciprocation. It's the body language of someone going through the motions because he has to, not because he wants to. And Meghan knows it. You can see it in how hard she's trying. The repeated attempts to engage him, the forced smiles, the way she keeps glancing over like maybe this time he'll look back. Maybe this time he'll remember they're supposed to be playing happy couple for the cameras. But he doesn't. He just keeps walking with that dead-eyed stare that's become his signature look ever since he left the UK and his entire life behind. Royal watchers are saying what we've all been thinking: Harry looks exhausted. Not physically tired, exhausted. Soul deep, emotionally drained, completely done with this whole charade, exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that comes from years of pretending everything's fine when it clearly, obviously, painfully isn't. And the most shocking part, he's not even trying to hide it anymore. The mask isn't just slipping for Harry, it's gone completely. But wait until you hear what happened when they actually arrived at the entrance. Because that disconnect on the red carpet, that was nothing compared to what came next. So they finally make it to the actual entrance, and you'd think after that awkward red carpet walk, things might improve once they're interacting with people, right? Wrong. So incredibly wrong. Because what unfolded at those doors revealed just how fractured this relationship has become. Meghan played it safe with her outfit choice this time. Nothing too flashy, nothing too controversial. She clearly learned her lesson from past fashion disasters that got her dragged across social media. And honestly, she looked fine. Polished, put together. The kind of carefully calculated appearance that screams, "I spent hours with a stylist making sure nobody could criticize me." But here's the thing about playing it safe. It doesn't matter how perfect your outfit is if your husband can't even be bothered to acknowledge your existence. They're standing there at the entrance, cameras everywhere, people watching, and Meghan's still trying. She's got that relaxed smile going, one of the rare moments where it actually looks genuine instead of plastered on. She's looking at Harry again, attempting to create some kind of couple moment, some kind of connection that the cameras can capture, something to feed the narrative that they're still this united team taking on the world together. And Harry, he gives her the most minimal interaction possible. A brief glance, a quick go-ahead gesture. Nothing warm, nothing affectionate, nothing that says, "This is my wife and I'm happy to be here with her." Just a perfunctory acknowledgement before he turns his attention to literally anyone else in the vicinity. He reaches out to shake hands with someone talking to him, completely redirecting his focus away from Meghan as fast as humanly possible. The whole exchange lasted maybe 5 seconds, but those 5 seconds told you everything. This wasn't a couple arriving together. This was two people fulfilling contractual obligations. Two people who happen to share a last name and a mansion, but clearly don't share much else anymore. The body language was screaming dysfunction so loud you could hear it from across the Atlantic. And Meghan had to feel it. Had to feel that coldness, that distance, that complete lack of warmth from the man who once claimed she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever met. The man who supposedly gave up his entire royal life for her. The man who sat next to Oprah and painted himself as her protector, her champion, her knight in shining armor. Where was that Harry at this gala? Because the Harry who showed up looked like he'd rather be literally anywhere else on the planet. But here's where it gets really interesting. They weren't alone at this entrance. Oh no, there was a third person hovering around them, and when people noticed who it was, the internet absolutely exploded with theories. Because having this particular person show up as what basically looked like a chaperone, that raised some serious questions about what's really going on behind closed doors. Marcus Anderson. That name might not mean much to casual observers, but for anyone who's been following Meghan's story closely, his presence at this gala set off alarm bells everywhere. Because Marcus isn't just some random friend. He's been in Meghan's orbit for years, long before Harry entered the picture. And having him there, hovering around them like some kind of chaperone, that's raising eyebrows for very specific reasons. Word on the street is Marcus has been one of Meghan's closest confidants since her Toronto days. He's the Soho House consultant who allegedly introduced her to the right people, opened the right doors, helped position her in the circles where she eventually met Harry. And ever since then, he's been there, always in the background, always nearby, always just a little too present for someone who's supposedly just a friend of the couple. Royal insiders are whispering about what his constant presence actually means. Because here's the thing, when you're a married couple attending an event, you don't typically need a third party trailing along with you unless something's seriously off. You don't need a buffer. You don't need someone running interference. You don't need what essentially looks like a handler making sure things stay on track. Unless, of course, you absolutely do need all those things because your marriage is hanging by a thread and you need someone there to keep it from completely falling apart in public. The phrase, "there were 3 of us in this marriage," keeps getting thrown around. And honestly, watching Marcus hover around them at this gala, it's not hard to see why. The optics are terrible. Two people who can barely stand to look at each other, plus this third person who seems more connected to Meghan than her own husband does. It's uncomfortable to watch, it's awkward, and it's raising questions nobody in their camp wants to answer. Sources close to the situation suggest Marcus has become even more involved in Meghan's life since the move to California. Some speculate he's advising on her business ventures, her public appearances, her strategic positioning in Hollywood. Others whisper it goes deeper than that he's the person she actually confides in, the person she actually trusts, the person who's actually there for her, in ways Harry clearly isn't anymore. And having him show up at this gala like he's part of the package deal, that's not helping quiet any of those rumors. The internet went absolutely wild dissecting his presence there. Screenshots flying everywhere, people analyzing every interaction, every glance, every moment where he seemed just a little too familiar with Meghan, or just a little too involved in coordinating their movements. And Harry just looked more and more checked out with every passing minute, like he's completely resigned to whatever dynamic is playing out here. But Marcus being there was just one piece of the chaos, because once they actually got inside and started interacting with other guests, Meghan's controlling behavior reached levels that were genuinely shocking to witness. What happened next became the second most viral moment of the entire night, and honestly, it might be even more revealing than the mask slip, because this showed Meghan's need to control absolutely everything, even when it makes her look completely unhinged. Harry's in the middle of giving someone a proper handshake. Good eye contact, firm grip, solid posture. For once he's actually engaging like a normal human being, having what looks like a genuine moment of connection with another person. And that's when Meghan decides she needs to intervene. She needs to insert herself. She needs to redirect Harry's attention. because how dare he focus on anyone other than her for more than 3 seconds. The hand comes out. That controlling hand that we've seen so many times before in other footage. And she starts physically moving him. Not a gentle touch on the arm, not a subtle signal. Full-on pushing and redirecting while he's actively mid-handshake with someone else. The audacity is staggering. The lack of respect is breathtaking. This is your husband, not a prop you can just reposition whenever it suits you. But it gets worse. So much worse. Because the audio caught something that makes this moment even more uncomfortable. Harry, 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 over and over again. Insistent. Demanding, like she's talking to a child who's not listening, instead of a grown man who's trying to have a normal social interaction. The tone, the repetition, the urgency, it all screams desperation mixed with control issues that have clearly spiraled completely out of hand. And Harry, he's trapped. He's mid-handshake, trying to maintain some shred of dignity, trying to finish this one simple interaction like a normal person. But Meghan won't let it happen. She needs him to move. She needs him over here. She needs him doing what she wants right this second, and nothing else matters. Not his conversation, not the person he's talking to, not basic social etiquette or respect for his autonomy. Body language experts analyzing this moment are calling it a perfect example of controlling behavior caught on camera. The physical manipulation, the verbal demands, the complete disregard for what Harry might actually want to be doing. It's the kind of dynamic that makes people deeply uncomfortable, because we've all seen relationships like this, and we all know they're toxic as hell. Royal watchers who've been following their journey since the beginning say this behavior isn't new. It's been there all along in various forms. The way she positions herself in photos, the way she guides him with touches that look affectionate but are actually redirecting, the way she manages his every move in public. But this gala moment? This was all of that behavior on full display with zero subtlety and zero ability to disguise it as anything other than what it is. Pure control. And the most devastating part was still to come. Because when Harry had to introduce Meghan on stage, what happened next was so painful to watch that even people who don't follow royal drama were talking about it. If you want to see a man who's completely dead inside, watch Harry introduce his wife on that stage. Because what should have been a simple, warm moment of a husband proudly presenting his partner turned into one of the most uncomfortable pieces of footage to emerge from this entire gala. Harry steps up to hand things over to Meghan. This is standard event protocol. You introduce the next speaker, maybe say something nice, smile, make it feel natural and supportive. Except Harry does none of those things. Absolutely none of them. Instead, he delivers what might be the coldest introduction anyone's ever witnessed at a public event. His lips pressed together, tight, the kind of lip compression that body language analysts immediately flag as a sign of suppressed emotion, usually anger or disgust. He's standing there about to introduce his wife to an audience, and his face is screaming, "I do not want to do this." There's no smile. Not even a forced one. Not even the fake public appearance smile he's perfected over years of royal duties. Just that pressed lip grimace that makes you want to look away because the secondhand discomfort is overwhelming. And he doesn't look at her. Not once. Meghan's standing right there next to him, and Harry's gaze stays fixed forward or down at his jacket. He introduces her, hands over the microphone or the moment or whatever he's supposed to be passing along, and his eyes never track to her face, never make contact, never acknowledge her as anything more than an obligation he has to fulfill before he can step away and stop pretending for a few blessed seconds. Meghan notices. Of course she notices. She glances at him, a quick look that probably hoped for some kind of supportive smile or encouraging nod, something to make this feel like they're a team. But Harry gives her nothing. Absolutely nothing. She's on her own up there, and he's making sure everyone in that room and everyone watching the footage knows he's checked out of this performance. Then he does this thing with his jacket, flicks it, adjusts it, plays with the button. Classic displacement behavior. The kind of fidgeting people do when they're deeply uncomfortable and trying to appear casual but failing miserably. It's the physical equivalent of, "I'm fine, everything's fine," when everything is clearly, obviously, painfully not fine. Body language experts who reviewed this moment used words like devastating and brutal and painful to watch. One analyst pointed out that this is the opposite of how supportive partners behave. There's no warmth, no pride, no affection, no indication whatsoever that Harry feels anything positive about his wife addressing this audience. He's just enduring it, going through the motions because he has to, because there are cameras, because walking off stage would cause a scene he's not quite ready to make. But if you thought Harry looked uncomfortable during that introduction, wait until you see what both of them looked like during the actual speeches, because the exhaustion, the tension, the barely concealed dysfunction, it was written all over both their faces. Harry takes the stage for his portion of the speech, and the transformation from the confident prince we once knew to this hunched, uncomfortable shell of a man is genuinely startling. His posture alone tells you everything you need to know about where he is mentally and emotionally right now. He's standing there looking like a member of the Addams family. Shoulders rolled forward, back curved, head jutting forward in that classic defeated posture that screams, "I hate every second of this." This isn't stage fright. This isn't nerves about public speaking. Harry grew up doing royal engagements. He's given countless speeches. He knows how to command a room when he wants to. But at this gala, he looked like he wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. The teleprompter became his lifeline. His eyes stayed glued to it, reading the words someone else wrote, delivering lines that probably don't even reflect what he actually thinks or feels. And you can see him rubbing his hands together, over and over, that nervous self-soothing gesture that shows just how much anxiety is coursing through him. This is a man who detests these kinds of events now, and he's not doing a single thing to hide it anymore. Behind him, Meghan's trying to maintain her composure, but even she's struggling. Her jaw keeps tensing. That telltale pressing of the jaw that indicates she's clenching, fighting to keep her face relaxed and pleasant for the cameras. She's hyper-aware of every expression, every micro-movement, terrified that something will slip and reveal what's really going on behind the carefully constructed facade. The control freak in her is working overtime, and it shows. Some observers claim she looked dismissive of what Harry was saying, but honestly, she just looked tense, exhausted, like she spent so much energy trying to manage every aspect of their public image that there's nothing left. The woman standing behind Harry at this gala wasn't the confident actress who once charmed her way through Hollywood events. This was someone running on fumes, desperately trying to keep all the plates spinning while everything threatens to crash down around her. And Harry, he's playing with his jacket button again, fidgeting, trying to make it seem like he knows what he's talking about, like he's confident in the words he's reading, like any of this matters to him at all. But it doesn't land. The audience can feel it. The viewers watching footage online can feel it. This is a man going through the motions, delivering a speech at an event he clearly doesn't want to be at, standing next to a wife he can barely bring himself to look at. Both of them just look drained. Not the healthy tiredness that comes from working hard on meaningful projects. This was deeper, soul-level exhaustion, the kind that comes from maintaining a lie for so long that you forget what the truth even looked like. Two people trapped in a performance they can't escape, too invested to walk away, too miserable to keep pretending much longer. But the most explosive moment was still coming. If you've ever studied couple dynamics or relationship body language, you know there's one gesture that's basically the kiss of death for any partnership, the lean away. And Harry was doing it throughout this entire event, over and over again, in ways that were impossible to miss once you knew what to look for. Multiple photos from the gala show Harry physically angling his body away from Meghan, not just standing neutrally, not just facing forward, actually leaning back, creating distance, positioning himself so there's maximum physical space between them, even when they're standing right next to each other. And in the world of nonverbal communication, this is screaming volumes about the state of their relationship. Couples therapists will tell you that when one partner consistently leans away from the other, it indicates emotional withdrawal. It's the body's way of creating the distance that the person wants but can't fully have in that moment. It's subconscious most of the time. Your body is literally trying to get away from someone even when social obligation requires you to stand beside them. And Harry's body was trying desperately to get away from Meghan all night long. Now, some defenders tried to claim maybe Harry was just losing his footing. Maybe the angle was weird. Maybe he was adjusting his stance for comfort. But when you see it happening repeatedly, in multiple photos, from different angles, captured by different photographers, that's not coincidence. That's not bad footing. That's a pattern. And patterns in body language reveal truth that words can hide. What makes this even more significant is that Meghan's not doing the same thing. She's not leaning away from him. She's staying oriented toward him, trying to maintain proximity, working to create the illusion of togetherness, even as Harry's body language is rejecting that entire narrative. It's a one-sided disconnect, which actually makes it more damaging. If they were both pulling away, you could argue they've reached some kind of mutual understanding. But this is Harry checking out while Meghan desperately tries to hold on to the image. Relationship experts analyzing these photos are pointing out that this kind of body language often precedes major relationship shifts. People start physically distancing themselves before they're ready to emotionally or officially end things. The body knows before the mind is ready to admit it. And if Harry's body language is any indication, he's already gone. He's already decided. He's just going through the motions until, what? Until the right moment? Until the contracts expire? Until the financial arrangements are sorted? Nobody knows for sure, but the physical evidence is damning. The lean-away showed up in candid moments when they thought cameras weren't focused on them. It appeared in official photos where they were supposed to look united. It was there during speeches, during arrivals, during every single interaction. Harry's body was sending one consistent message all night long, and that message was clear as day. He wants out. And when you combine that body language with everything else that happened at this gala, the picture becomes even clearer and more troubling. Look at their faces. Really look at them in the footage from this gala. These aren't two people who are tired from a busy day or a long week. This isn't the kind of exhaustion that comes from working hard on projects you care about or juggling too many commitments. This is something else entirely. This is the bone-deep weariness that comes from living a lie for so long that you've forgotten what truth even feels like. Meghan's expression throughout the event kept cycling between forced animation and complete blankness. The moments when she thought cameras weren't on her, pure exhaustion written across every feature. Not the glamorous tiredness of a busy Hollywood player. Not the satisfied fatigue of someone building an empire. This was defeat wearing a designer dress and diamond earrings. The kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to control every narrative, manage every perception, fight every battle, and slowly realizing you're losing ground anyway. And Harry? He looked like a man who's been drained of everything that once made him vibrant. Remember the cheeky prince who joked with kids at royal events? The soldier who found purpose in his military service? The guy who lit up talking about causes he cared about? That Harry has been gone for years now. But at this gala, what's replaced him looked particularly hollow. Dead eyes, tight jaw, the expression of someone who's made choices he can't undo, and is now living with consequences he never fully anticipated. Palace insiders are whispering that the couple's current state has people in royal circles genuinely concerned. Not concerned in a we want them back way, concerned in a watching a slow-motion car crash way. Sources close to the royal family suggest that even those who were hurt by Harry's departure, even those who feel betrayed by the Oprah interview and the Netflix series and all the public attacks, are looking at recent footage and feeling uncomfortable about how visibly deteriorated things have become. Hollywood isn't exactly rushing to their rescue either. Industry insiders suggest the shine has worn off. The initial curiosity about what Harry and Meghan would do in entertainment has faded into disappointment over lackluster projects and constant drama. The exhaustion showing on their faces at this gala? That's not just personal relationship fatigue. That's the weight of realizing your big reinvention hasn't gone according to plan. Your brand is tarnished. Your options are narrowing, and you're stuck in a dynamic you can't escape without massive consequences. Word on the street is they're both feeling trapped. Harry can't go back to royal life after everything he's said and done. Meghan can't pivot to the Hollywood success story she envisioned. They're locked into this partnership that's clearly making both of them miserable. But separating would mean admitting failure, losing financial security, facing custody battles, and giving the press and the palace the satisfaction of being right about them all along. So they keep showing up at these events, keep delivering these speeches, keep pretending everything's fine while their faces tell a completely different story, and everyone watching can see it. So where do Harry and Meghan go from here? Because after a public display of dysfunction this extreme, something has to give. You can't keep showing up to events looking this miserable, this disconnected, this barely held together and expect people to keep buying the narrative that everything's fine. The cracks aren't just showing anymore. The entire facade is crumbling in real time, caught on camera, analyzed by millions. Their brand was built on a very specific story, the love story that defied the institution. The modern couple breaking free from stuffy royal constraints to build something authentic and meaningful. The partnership that would show the world how to do things differently, better, more honestly, except none of that holds up when your husband can't even look at you during a public introduction and you're caught on camera with a mask slip so horrifying it becomes instant viral content. Sources in their camp are allegedly scrambling. How do you spin this? How do you convince sponsors and networks and streaming platforms that this couple is still marketable when their every public appearance screams dysfunction? The projects they've been trying to get off the ground require them to be likable, relatable, inspirational. But what inspirational about two people who clearly can't stand each other going through the motions at charity events? Palace reactions have been notably quiet, which honestly speaks volumes. There's no rushing to comment, no public concern, no olive branches being extended. The royal family has moved on. They're focusing on working royals who are actually doing the job. They're rebuilding public trust after years of Harry and Meghan's attacks. And they're watching this California disaster unfold with what insiders describe as resigned inevitability. They saw this coming. They knew it couldn't last. And now they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Hollywood whispers suggest that major players in the entertainment industry are distancing themselves. Nobody wants to be attached to a sinking ship, and that's increasingly what the Sussex brand looks like. The couple that was supposed to take Tinseltown by storm is instead becoming a cautionary tale about what happens when you burn bridges, attack family, and expect the world to keep celebrating you anyway. But here's what nobody's saying out loud yet, but everyone's thinking. How long until the separation announcement? How long until we get the carefully worded statement about growing apart, pursuing different paths, remaining committed to co-parenting? How long until this obvious misery becomes too costly to maintain? because staying together clearly isn't working. The body language at this gala made that painfully, undeniably clear. Whatever happens next, one thing is certain: Harry and Meghan can't keep doing this. They can't keep showing up looking this exhausted, this disconnected, this fundamentally incompatible, and expect people to keep believing in their story. The mask has fallen, the truth is out there, and there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. So what do you think happens next for these two? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and stay tuned because trust me, the next chapter of this royal drama is coming, and you absolutely won't want to miss it.